The dining hall was alive with murmurs and low laughter, the scent of roasted meat thick in the air. But at the head of the table, an unspoken battle raged. Naomi sat at Cabo's right hand opposite Titus, her fingers moving with slow precision, twirling two delicate glass balls in her hands. The rhythmic motion was almost hypnotic, the soft clink-clink filling the air between them. Titus watched her, unsettled. "What do you have there?" he asked, breaking the tension. "You've been playing with those all night." Naomi's lips curled into a slow smile. She lifted her hands, revealing the fragile spheres. "They relieve my stress," she said, her voice smooth, almost playful. "When I hold them like this, when I move them in my palm." She let the balls slide over her fingers, her gaze flicking to Cabo before returning to Titus. "My tension melts away." Cabo shifted beside her, his muscles tightening, but he said nothing. Naomi continued, tilting her head slightly. "They also remind me of how fragile life is." She paused, watching Cabo as she added, "If I drop one, it shatters. It breaks beyond repair." Cabo's jaw clenched. Titus inhaled sharply. This was not a conversation about glass balls. Naomi finally turned to Titus. "It's about control," she murmured. "The power of holding something delicate in your hands, knowing at any moment you could break it. It's intoxicating." Cabo made a low, deep sound in his throat, almost a growl. Naomi's smile widened slightly. "I'm tired," she announced suddenly, rising from her seat. The men at the table instinctively stood as a sign of respect. Titus glanced at the glass spheres on the table. "Are you leaving them?" Naomi paused, looking at them for a moment before shrugging. "I'm tired of playing with them now. You can take them. Discard them if you wish." Cabo's gaze locked onto her, dark and dangerous, a warning perhaps not to leave them behind. Titus reached forward, intrigued. "Stop!" Cabo's voice was sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. Titus froze. "Why?" Titus asked. "Because," Cabo stammered, "it would be weird if you touched them." Naomi's smile was slow, victorious. She had won this round. She turned and walked away, her hips swaying slightly, leaving Cabo seething in his seat. Then the doors burst open from the other side. A hunter stumbled inside, panting, his face pale with urgency. "Cabo, the snake people have attacked. The hunters guarding the water diversion are dead." You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. The air shifted instantly. The warmth of the hall was gone, replaced with cold, heavy dread. Cabo shot to his feet. "What?" His voice was low, dangerous. "They used explosives. The rocks blocking the water have been destroyed. The river flows back to them now. The men who were guarding the site, they've been slaughtered." Silence. It wasn't shock. It was rage. Cabo had expected retaliation. He had known it would come, but he had been too slow. And now he had lost valuable warriors, his men. His hands curled into fists, his mind racing. He had failed. He inhaled sharply, steadying himself. "Where are the fallen?" The hunter's voice wavered. "We brought them back home." Cabo's eyes darkened. "Prepare them," he ordered, his voice low, like the calm before a storm. "We will bury them with honor." Titus looked at him, sensing the storm beneath the surface. "What now?" Cabo's eyes burned with fury. "Now," he said, voice laced with lethal intent, "we make them pay in blood." High up in the castle of the Snake People, where once only 2 had stood, now there were 4. Hannah and Gideon were no longer alone. Eli and Daniel had joined them. Together, they stood at the towering balcony, their gazes locked onto the river below. The water flowed once more, smooth and uninterrupted, as if nothing had ever happened. The hunter's sabotage had been undone. A slow, satisfied smile curled across Eli's lips. The hunters had thought they could choke them, cut off their lifeblood, weaken them into submission, but they had underestimated the Snake People's resilience. "We've sent them a message," Gideon said, his voice steady. "We are not prey to be hunted." Daniel folded his arms across his chest, his sharp eyes studying the darkened horizon. If they come again, we'll be waiting. Eli's jaw tightened. His hands gripped the stone railing until his knuckles turned white. This wasn't just a war for survival anymore. This was personal. They will come, Eli said, his voice laced with quiet fury. And when they do, I will make sure they pay. He turned his head slightly, his expression cold. I will avenge my brothers to the very end. The river whispered below, oblivious to the blood that was yet to be spilled. The river was silent now. The only sound was the slow ripple of the water and the heavy breathing of two men standing over a fallen body. The hunter lay still, blood pooling beneath him, staining the earth dark red. Sia's hand was still clenched around the dagger, his knuckles white, his chest rising and falling in sharp, uneven breaths. Tendai hadn't moved. He stood frozen, his mind blank and racing at the same time. His father had just killed a hunter. A brother. Someone they had trained with, fought beside, trusted with their lives. And Sia had ended him without hesitation. For her, for the woman who had just disappeared into the river. Tendai felt his chest tighten. His stomach turned. He wanted to speak, but his throat was dry. His father looked at him, his eyes dark, searching, waiting, pleading. Sia needed him to say something. Anything. Before long, voices came from the trees. Other hunters. Sia straightened immediately, stepping in front of the body as if to block their view, but it was too late. What happened? The voice was sharp. The scent of blood was unmistakable. 3 hunters emerged from the brush, their faces hard, their eyes scanning the scene. They saw the body, they saw the blood, and they saw Sia. Everything happened at once. One hunter stepped forward, his hand moving to his weapon. Sia, what is this? Sia inhaled, his mind racing. He turned slightly, just enough to glance at Tendai, his expression pleading. Would he cover this up? Would he stand by his father? Tendai's whole body felt like it was on fire. His heart slammed against his ribs, his mind in chaos. He could barely think straight. This was treason, the highest order of betrayal. His father had taken the life of a brother to protect an enemy. A snake. And yet, that snake was his mother. His breath caught. What was he supposed to do? The hunters were looking at him now, waiting for an answer, waiting for clarity. He couldn't give them one. His throat was dry. His lips wouldn't move. And Sia was still waiting. Tendai felt his hands tremble. He clenched them into fists. His father had never seemed so human. He wasn't the unshakable warrior anymore. He wasn't the leader Tendai had always admired. Right now, Sia was just a man who had killed, a man who had chosen love over duty, a man who was now putting his trust in Tendai. One of the hunters knelt beside the body, his voice low but sharp. Sia, tell us what happened. Silence. Sia's eyes flickered to his son. Sia, what happened here? Another hunter asked. His voice was calm, but there was suspicion in his eyes. Sia exhaled slowly. We tracked a scent. A snake was nearby. He must have followed it too closely. A murmur rippled through the hunters. You mean he was ambushed? Another pressed. Sia didn't answer right away. He could feel Tendai's stare boring into him. He needed to be careful. One wrong word, one misplaced hesitation, and they would know. I don't know, Sia finally said. But the snake got away. The hunters absorbed this. Some nodded. Some still watched him with uncertainty. Then we must go back, one of the hunters said at last. The Brotherhood must know about this. The scent of a large group of snake people was unmistakable. They had passed through here, and what Sia said was plausible. A lone hunter against that many snake people was a death sentence. But there was something missing from this place. Signs of a fight. Marks on the brother's body to show he had fought well. There was only one thing to prove that they had done this. The dagger. That was now on the ground. Sia nodded. Yes, we move at first light. But first we must give our brother a hunter's send-off. With that, the group began to disperse, but Tendai did not move. He stood there staring at his father, his fists clenched at his sides. "You killed him," he said quietly. Sia met his gaze. "I did what I had to do." Tendai shook his head. "Remember, you protected her. You protected them." Sia sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "Tendai..." "No," Tendai cut him off, stepping closer. "I saw you, father. I saw you hold her. I saw the way she looked at you. That wasn't just any snake, that was her, my mother, Palesa." Sia didn't respond. Tendai let out a shaky breath, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know what's worse," he admitted. "That you've been lying to me my whole life, or that I can feel it too." Sia's chest tightened. "Feel what?" "The pull," Tendai whispered. "Like something inside me is waking up. The water is pulling me towards it. Snake Island calls to me in my dreams. I don't want it. I don't want any of it. But when I saw her..." He swallowed hard. "I knew." Sia placed a firm hand on his son's shoulder. "You are a hunter, Tendai. You are my son. That is what matters." Tendai looked at him for a long time, pain in his eyes. "But I am also a snake, father," he said, sadness in his voice. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Sia watched him go, his heart heavy. The real war was only just beginning. Later, Sia stood before the pyre, the fallen hunter carefully wrapped in white linen. Sia could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. His men were waiting for him to speak, to lead. His eyes found Tendai's, and for the briefest moment he saw something there, anger, betrayal, or maybe just confusion. Sia turned back to the hunters. His throat was dry, but he forced himself to speak. "Brother, we stand before your body, but not before your spirit." The words of the funeral rite came out steady, practiced, but inside, he felt hollow. Each word carried the weight of a lie. He had spoken these words before, but never had he been the cause of a fallen hunter. Never had he stood on this side of the grief. "Brother, your spirit has already run ahead, into the great hunt beyond. Your feet, which once walked beside us, now move with the ancestors. Your hands, which once wielded the blade, now rest in the wind. Your voice, which once called to us in the dark, now echoes in the halls of those who came before. Tonight, we mourn, but we do not grieve. A hunter does not fall in vain. A hunter does not fear the final journey. You have left this world as a warrior, and we will honor you as one. The fire will take you, but the fire does not consume you. It only carries you home. We do not forget. We do not falter. We do not leave our own behind. And though your hunt ends here, we will carry your name into battle, into blood, into the stories that will be told long after our bones have turned to dust. You are one of us. You are always one of us. And we will see you again at the end of the great hunt." Sia took a step forward, lighting the pyre. The fire roared as the hunters bowed their heads, some whispering quiet words of their own. As the fire consumed the body, the scent of burning flesh mixed with the smoke, filling the air with something that felt like judgment. The hunters watched in silence, their faces hard, their grief buried deep beneath the surface. Malikica had been watching Tendai all day. She had seen the way he avoided her, how he kept his distance, how his eyes never lingered on her the way they had the night before. She hadn't had the chance to speak to him, not with everything happening, not with the weight of grief pressing down on all of them. But now, as the fire burned, sending their fallen brother off in smoke and ash, she couldn't wait any longer. She stepped forward, hesitant but firm. "Tendai, can we talk?" He stiffened at the sound of her voice, his entire body going rigid. For a moment, he didn't turn. Then, slowly, as if it physically pained him, he looked at her. Malikica felt her stomach drop. The sadness in his eyes was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was deep, dark, endless. But beneath it was something else, something sharp, something ugly, something that made her breath hitch. She had seen that look before, not in Tendai, but in men who had changed their minds. No, her heart pounded. No, this wasn't that, it couldn't be. But as Tendai looked at her, that face, her face, looking back at him, looked like his mother. The mother who had just stood by the river, staring at him with eyes full of truth and betrayal, before transforming into a colossal snake. The mother who had abandoned him. Tendai's throat tightened. His heart pounded in his chest like war drums. Malikica looked too much like her. The shape of her eyes, the way they softened with concern, the way she searched his face like she was trying to see inside him. It was unbearable. He couldn't look at her. If he did, he might break apart. So he dropped his gaze to the ground, staring at the dirt beneath his feet. "Not now, Malikica," he muttered. His voice was hoarse, strained. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Malikica stood there, frozen. "Not now?" She blinked, her throat tight. What had just happened? Her mind screamed at her to chase him, to grab his arm, to demand answers. But she didn't move, because she knew, she had seen it, the way his expression had twisted the moment he looked at her, the way he had flinched like she was something awful, like she was something wrong. He was disgusted. Maybe not with her, maybe with himself. But it didn't matter, because she had been standing there when it happened. Had last night meant nothing? Had he woken up this morning, seen the sun rise, and suddenly changed his mind? Her sister's voice echoed in her mind. Men wake up different after a night of pleasure. You'll see. Clarity comes over them like a fog lifting, and sometimes that clarity is you were never what they wanted at all. No, Tendai wasn't like that. He wasn't one of them. Was he? Malikica wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold. Last night he had wanted her. His hands had trembled when they touched her. His voice had whispered her name like it was the only thing that mattered. They had shared something real. She had given herself to him. Body, soul. And now? Now he wouldn't even look at her. Had last night been a mistake to him? Her chest ached, her heart pounding against her ribs. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run after him and shake him and demand to know if he was just going to throw her away. But she didn't. Instead, she stood there, staring at the place where he had walked away, feeling her own world collapse beneath her feet. The village of the snake people moved slowly, weighed down by the remnants of the previous night's revelry. Some wandered the paths, sluggish and weary, while others remained in their homes, lost in the lull of recovery. It was a quiet, uneventful day, on the surface. But beneath, unseen and unknown, something was stirring. A secret was buried deep within the hunters, a truth so volatile that, if uncovered, it would shatter everything the village believed in. Deep within the forest, away from the quiet hum of village life, Nandi lay on the cold earth. Candles flickered around her, their dim glow casting ghostly shadows against the ancient trees. The guardian stood over her, an unshakable presence, her eyes dark pools of knowing. The air around them pulsed with energy, an unspoken force pressing against the very fabric of the night. "The snake within you cannot be vanquished," the guardian intoned. "It is bound to you, as old as the blood that runs through your veins. I do not have the 7-generation agreement as my predecessor had with Tendai." Nandi swallowed hard. Fear coiled within her, but she held her ground. She had no choice. "I can only bind it for this generation," the guardian continued, "for you and for your children, the twins you carry." Nandi pressed a trembling hand against her stomach. The weight of her unborn children felt heavier now, an anchor pulling her towards something unknown. The guardian's gaze did not waver. "This will be painful," she warned. "The snake within you has been caged for too long. It will resist. It will fight. But you must be strong." With that, she lifted her arms and began to chant. The sound was ancient, both foreign and familiar, weaving itself into the very bones of the land. The forest shivered in response, the trees swaying as if whispering among themselves. Nandi gasped as something inside her shifted, a deep, primal movement. Then the pain came. A scream tore from her throat, raw and desperate. Her body arched as fire coursed through her veins. She could feel the snake writhing, twisting, resisting the pull of the spell. The Guardian's chants grew louder, unwavering against the battle raging within Nandi's flesh. She clutched at the earth, nails digging into the dirt. The world spun around her, her vision blurred by agony. This was unlike anything she had ever felt. It was as if her very soul was being pulled apart, piece by piece. Then came the shift, a terrible, undeniable shift. Her body convulsed, and suddenly the snake within fought harder than ever. The scales on her arms thickened, spreading like wildfire across her body. Her bones cracked and stretched. She gasped as her limbs contorted, her human form dissolving into something massive, something ancient. The Guardian's eyes widened in horror. This was not going as planned. Nandi was no longer just resisting, she was losing control. The Guardian raised her hands, trying to weave a stronger spell, but it was too late. Nandi let out an earth-shaking roar, her body no longer her own. In the space of mere moments, she had fully transformed into a colossal serpent, her body coiling and twisting with unrestrained power. Her golden eyes flashed, filled with primal rage. The air crackled with her presence. Then she moved. The massive snake turned and, with unnatural speed, surged toward the village. The Guardian gasped in horror. If Nandi reached the village in this state, nothing would survive. The snake people, the hunters, everyone would perish beneath her fury. There was no time. The Guardian fell to her knees, pressing her palms to the earth. Her voice rang out in desperation. "Great forest god, hear me. This is an emergency. I beg for your intervention." The wind howled in response. The trees trembled. The very earth seemed to hold its breath. Then the sky split apart. A deafening crash echoed through the forest as the forest god fell from the heavens like thunder. His power pressed against the land, sending shockwaves through the trees. At that moment, the village felt it. An earth tremor rolled through the land, shaking the huts and sending people staggering to the ground. Fear spread like wildfire. The Snake Queen rose from her throne, her eyes narrowing. Something was terribly wrong. The Snake Queen turned to Kwame. "Kwame, find out what's going on in the forest," she commanded, her face stern. Kwame nodded. "I'll take the hunter with me." "What?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. "Everyone else seems intoxicated from the festivities. I will take Diallo," he said, looking the Queen straight in the face. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. Most of her people were still recovering from the celebrations, and she knew he spoke the truth. But she was curious, why him? Kwame hurried away to find Diallo. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. If there had been a problem with Nandi and the Guardian, perhaps this was it. And he did not want the snake people to find out. Was he protecting the hunters? He didn't know. He didn't want to think about it. Diallo was already outside the hut, his eyes fixed on the forest. The treetops trembled, swaying violently, as if something massive moved through them. The earth beneath them shuddered, and in the distance an eerie screech split the air. "We need to go. We need to find out what that is," Kwame said, pointing in the direction of the approaching chaos. They sprinted into the forest, their feet pounding against the damp earth. The trees around them seemed alive, whispering, shivering, warning. The screeching grew louder, a monstrous roar that sent birds flying into the sky in terror. Diallo skidded to a halt, his breath stolen from his chest. This was no ordinary snake. It was an ancient force, something that had slept for centuries and was now awake. His sister? No, not his sister. Nandi had transformed completely, and she was enormous. The sheer magnitude of her presence dwarfed everything in sight. "By the gods!" Diallo whispered, his voice trembling. The forest god briefly turned his glowing eyes toward Diallo and Kwame as they arrived, then back to Nandi. With one mighty motion, he raised his massive hand. The trees bowed toward him, their roots twisting and rising from the earth. A surge of ancient energy roared through the forest, crackling like lightning as it surged toward Nandi. But she was faster. The colossal serpent snapped her body to the side with terrifying speed, dodging the golden jolt of power. The energy struck the ground where she had been, sending a shockwave that splintered trees and left a scorched scar in the earth. Nandi didn't stop. She was close now, so close. Her massive form slithered forward, crushing everything in her path as she charged toward the village. She had to reach it. The forest god let out a deep, thunderous growl. She would not escape. He rose, his form weightless as he ascended into the sky, high above the treetops. His glowing eyes burned like twin suns, watching her every move. He was a god after all, and today he would show his power. From above, his massive hands stretched outward, gathering the energy of the sky itself. The clouds churned, spiraling, darkening. Power crackled through the heavens, and then he struck. A blinding bolt of divine energy ripped through the sky, racing toward Nandi as she neared the village. Kwame and Diallo could do nothing but watch. Would she make it? Or would the god stop her before she reached her goal? For today, my dear tribe, only the gods hold the answer. We mortals must wait for the next episode. And that, my dear tribe members, brings us to the end of yet another thrilling episode in our Snake People vs. Hunters series. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. This week, Naomi and Cabo the Great continue their dangerous game of seduction, but the stakes elsewhere have shifted. Hunters have fallen and the Snake People have reclaimed their river, which now flows freely toward them. Meanwhile, Eli is back in action, and by his side stands Daniel. Their mission? Avenge their lost loved ones. Elsewhere in time, Tendai confronts his father, accusing him of killing the hunter. But his father remains resolute. It had to be done. As the fallen hunter is laid to rest in a solemn send-off, tensions rise. Tendai's gaze toward Malikica is filled with disgust and hate, emotions misdirected at her, but truly meant for his mother. And deep in the heart of the forest, the guardian kneels before Nandi, prepared to vanquish the snake within her. But fate has other plans. In a horrifying turn of events, Nandi fully transforms into a colossal ancient serpent, now slithering toward the Snake People's village. The god of the forest has taken up the task to stop Nandi, but will he be able to stop her before she leaves destruction in her wake? The answers to these burning questions and more await in next week's episode. Until then, stay wild, stay curious, and stay ready for what's to come. A huge shout out to one of our viewers, who I'll call Sharon. I hope you don't mind, it's part of your username. You made an interesting comment mentioning that you would have loved to see the snake in Nandi. That thought sparked something in me, and I thought, why not? So, this week's Nandi storyline was inspired by you. I truly appreciate every comment you all leave. Your ideas ignite creativity in ways you may not even realize. So keep engaging, keep sharing your thoughts. You never know, your idea might just be the next one featured on the channel. Hope you enjoyed this episode. A huge shout out to Angel, a cherished friend of the channel, for the generous $5 super thanks. Your words, "Oh my god, this is so good, I can't breathe. I can't wait for the next episode." This means the world to me. Your support keeps me going, and I truly appreciate you. May the gods you hold dear shower you with endless blessings. Thank you. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. A warm and heartfelt thank you to all the amazing tribe members who have chosen to join and support this incredible journey. Your belief in this channel means the world to me, and I'm so glad to have you along for the ride. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.